want to show you how I do some of the final weathering or additional kind of filters over top of the Tamiya. Like these trucks are pretty much finished now. I'm really happy with the way they turned out. So remember how I painted them that kind of rubber black, and then I oversprayed some of those very subtle but also incredibly thin, like I'm talking isopropyl, like 95% tinted with 5% paint, right? That's how you get to this kind of depth of color for these cast trucks. I've done them before, so I think these ones turned out a little bit better maybe than the last ones I did, but that's just the way it goes though, right? The more you practice, the better you get at it. So you can see these streaks here, this fade. Like, I'll show you some on the front pilot that I'm going to show you here. After this kind of color. Sorry for this photo quality, it's not that great. But you can see this kind of earthy kind of sand and then a little bit of rust. So what I like to do is like this is the rear part I'll just do. Oh, actually, no, why don't I do the front? Because I already did one coat there, so I'll do some on here. So what you want to do is you want to wet down the whole face of the model that you're going to tint or put a filter on, so that the paint, whatever paint you put on, will feather out. Okay, you want soft edges. Okay. So the two colors that I'm going to use, I'll show you, is this one here, number 71.27, is called light brown. Okay. When you put it on the palette, it looks more, well, it looks darker than it does in the bottle. And then there's this rust, 71.80 rust. It's not the orange rust, it's more of a red kind of brown rust, which I really like. Okay. So what I like to do is wet it down like that, and then just take a little bit of first the light brown, and I'm just going to stab a little bit in. So make sure it's wet so it just floods in and then runs and kind of fades. Okay. It's almost like a type of oil painting, but with acrylics. And the advantage, once again, is that it dries super flat and very fast, right? You don't have to wait for a day or so. And this will change a little bit when it dries, okay? So we'll let that dry, and then I'll show you how I put some of the rust on, okay? Okay, so it's almost dry, so you can wait for it to dry, or you can actually work in while it's still wet. So I'm going to take a little bit of that rust now, and I'm just going to stab a little bit in. Just let it, just a little bit in. Remember, it's got to be wet, and if it's holding up too much paint like there, just come in with, dip it, and let it run. That's all it took, right? And when it dries, it leaves a really, really cool effect. And I find the less you mess around with it, the better. If you overwork it, you end up blending it all into one color. And you don't want one color. You want 2 or 3 colors, the gray, the sand, and the rust working separately but blending into each other. That's what a filter is, okay? A filter allows you to see the other colors as well, which are altered by the color that you add in. That's very thin, okay? See that? Just a little, the water's there, it's clear, and you just dab in a little bit of pigment and it capillaries. That's a pin wash. And it doesn't have to be black or dark all the time. All right. I'm tempted to add more, but you know what? I'm going to leave it. In fact, I'm going to just, you can clean the brush off and sort of wipe it dry on paper, and you can wick some of it away as well if you want. See? I'm going to leave that. I like that. It's subtle, and it looks a lot like the prototype photo. Okay.